Hey there. Let us look at everything you need to know about data validation in Excel. We're basically covering from beginner to advanced levels. Before we dive in, let me ask you a serious question. Have you ever sent an Excel file to someone and they entered text where numbers should be 500% instead of 5%, invalid dates, wrong categories, or completely destroyed your template? It wasn't your fault. You did not control the input. So today, I'll show you everything you need to know about data validation in Excel so you can control what users enter into your spreadsheet like a professional. So after this video, your sheet will be protected, errors will reduce drastically, your dashboard will be more accurate, and your template will look professional. So let's begin now. What is data validation? Data validation is a feature in Excel that allows you to control what users can enter into a cell. So instead of allowing anything, which is the default right now of Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, you allow specific values only. This prevents garbage inputs, right? Where people can impute whatever they want to or that they can. Before we begin validation. So we must basically highlight the range or the cells we want to validate. Okay, so our interest is the age column, right? Okay, so that has been highlighted. So what we'll do now, we'll go to Data tab. Under Data Tools, click the drop down on Data Validation here and select Data Validation. Okay, so under setting, by default, this is what you're going to see under settings, right? So basically, we have three tabs here: setting, input message, and error alerts. Okay. So now, like I said earlier, Excel by default allows the entry of any value. So this is it. So now, a rundown on the types of data validation. Okay. So we can use whole number, decimals, list, dates, time, text length, and custom for advanced. Okay. So let us use whole number for this example. And we want to use the between data type, right? The between data, right? But I would like to show you that we have more than just the between. We have the not between. So I will explain them as we progress. Not between means that I'm giving a range that will be excluded from the data collection or data entry. Let's say I want to collect dates or quantities or any whole number basically that is not between the range of 18 to 30 example. So any other number you put or impute will be allowed. So the equal to does this only collects a number or accepts the input of a number that is equal to the criteria. Let's say equal to 20. If you impute anything other than 20, it will not be accepted. So not equal to means that we are excluding a particular number. That is to say that if we say collect input not equal to 20, that means any other whole number outside 20 will be accepted. So greater than here means that let's say we want to collect or impute dates in our dates column, but we want it to be greater than 10. So that means from 11 upward, right? Good. Then the less than is the opposite of what the greater than. That means if we say we don't want to collect, we want to collect number less than 10, that means any number above 10, 10 and above will not be accepted. So then we come to greater than or equal to. Now, what do you think is the difference between greater than and greater than or equal to? Now, here's the difference. Greater than or equal to allows us to impute the very margin. What do I mean? If we say we want to impute age greater than or equal to 18, that means we can impute 18 itself, okay? But on greater than, if we say we want to impute age greater than 18, that means we begin from what? 19. I hope that is clear. If it's not clear, you can ask your question in the comment section and we will definitely give you a response. So less than or equal to is the opposite of greater than or equal to, just as less than is the opposite of greater than. I hope that is clear. So for this example, we are going to be using the between, okay? So our minimum value will be 18. Our maximum value will be what? 60. So we are basically collecting age between 18 and 60. So I also want to basically discuss these other two tabs, the input message and the error alert. The use of the input message is this. It gives prior warning, basically, not, I wouldn't say warning, it basically gives or informs the user that, okay, a restriction like this has been placed. So what you need to do is to follow that rule. So let's just put it here and say we can give it a title or not, but let's give it a title. We can say age. Okay, that's a title. We now say impute age in the range 18 to 60. Okay, once we do that, we are done with that input message section. So we need to go to the error alert. The error alert basically is an alert that alerts us if we have done something wrong or gone outside the rule. Okay, so we have different styles of alert. We have the stop alert, we have the warning alert, we have the information alert. Okay, the stop alert will stop you and say stop. You understand? And gives a message that we want to give. A warning will give you a warning. If you pick warning, you see the warning sign. Will give you a warning that, oh, you are imputing something wrong. Then the info will basically inform you that, oh, you are definitely, this is the right thing to impute, not what you've done. So let's use the stop, okay? Now, in your practice, I want you to use the warning and the information and tell us what you discovered in the comment section. Okay, so let's use the stop style. Let's give a message. We'll say wrong input. Then we'll say please input age between 18 and 60. Okay, so now what have we done? We have set the error alert. We have done set the input message. We have basically done our settings right. So we can go ahead and click OK. Once you click OK, you can see any cell you click within our age column, as we've highlighted, will tell you impute age in the range 18 to 60. Okay, so if I impute 18 and hit enter, you see it's okay. What if I impute 17 and hit enter? What happens? You see wrong input, right? This was the title of our error alert, right? Now it said, please impute age between 18 and what? 60. So if you want to retry, you click on retry. It allows you to retry to enter. Let's make it 19 and see, no problem. So let's impute 60 and see, enter, no problem. But let's say 61 and see, we still have that error alert, which tells us that we've imputed or we entered the wrong input. Okay, you see, that is simple and that is straightforward, okay? All right, so there's something I also want to show you, basically not applying it here, but let me show you this. Let's go back to data validation and you can see we have decimals, right? So decimal is exactly the same with whole number, okay? Basically the settings, but we have to clarify that decimals are numbers that have decimal points, right? So it is useful for tax rates, commissions, interest rates, or percentage fields, okay? So let's get that clear. So basically what we are going to do is, I think, let's implement this in our performance rating column, okay? So let's highlight our performance rating column and then go to data tab, okay? Then data validation, click on data validation. Then you see on this highlighted column, right now Excel collects what? Any value, so there's no validation there. or no restriction there. So let's pick decimal now. You see that the setup is exactly the same as we did the whole number, right? But we can say we want to collect, say, example, say, let's have between what? Let's say 1 and 98. Okay. So let us basically use error alerts. Okay. And so basically the same thing we did. Okay, basically the same thing we did with the whole number. So I'd like you to try that out and tell us what you think or what you discovered in the comment section. So we'll click OK. Right now, the difference here is that you see in the H column, we had input message, but here we did not. We just went ahead and did the validation. So let's put 0 and see. You see, so Micro Excel gave us the default stop message. He said this value does not match the data validation restriction defined for this cell. Okay, so let us retry. Let's just say 1.2. You can see because we said decimals, it accepts decimals, and our range was 0 to 98, right? So even if we put 100.1 as decimals, as a decimal rather, because our range was not up to 100, you can see it won't accept that. So even if you don't put the stop message, once you go ahead and impute the range, okay, on that setting, Excel will do the notification by default for you. But the reason why it's important to basically put the information is to help those imputing the data to give them that range. So let's just put that information there. It's good for control. So data validation, our setting is still exactly the same, right? You can see decimals, minimum is 1, maximum is 98, okay? So input message, very important. You say correct input, that will be the title, or we just say performance rating, okay? You say input performance rating in decimal from 1 to 98, okay? So we go ahead and click OK. Once we do click OK, you see that we have our labels now, okay? So basically tested the performance, right? So that's good. So let's move to another validation, which will be list, right? So we have our lookup list here. We have departments, employment status, and so on. So we are going to be using this list in our employee form, so that instead of someone typing the department, employment status, country, states, and so on manually, you just have to select from a drop down. Okay, I hope you get that. So let's do that from the department. Okay, let's fix that in the department column. Then you will do the rest and send us a screenshot of what you've done and what you discovered in the comment section. I hope that is clear. All right, so for department, let us do this. For department, we'll highlight department. We will now go to data validation, right? Then we want to go to settings and select what? List, okay? To select list. When we select list, you are going to see this data section is grayed out, okay? Now, the source of the list, okay? We have to now select the source of the list. So you click on the source, go to the sheet where you have your list. Now you can see departments, right? So we have finance, HR, IT, sales, and marketing. So we are just going to highlight exactly what we need. Remember, no need for the title because it's going to be part of the list if you do that. Okay, so let's go to input message. We can say directly on the message, we can say select from drop down. Okay, select from drop down. Okay, then error alert, we'll leave it as stop. We can just say select from drop down. Okay, let's go ahead and click OK. You see that we have the information select from drop down. Most importantly, you can see a drop down icon here, right? When you click this icon, you are going to see a list of the departments. So you can click on finance. Once you click on finance, that is good. You can go to the next cell, you click on HR, depending on the department you are supposed to enter. Okay, let's say we have HR in our list, right? And we go ahead and type HR, we hit enter. You see, HR is there. But I want to type this HR and hit enter. You see what happens? You see what happened? HR is in the list. So if I type HR in lowercase, it will convert it to the correct HR in the list. Okay. But without this, what will have happened is this. Somebody wanted to enter HR, the person will just say lowercase HR. And I want you to understand that in data cleaning, data input in Excel, the lowercase HR is different from higher case HR. And some people may even go ahead and say lowercase HR, higher case R. You understand? So that alone is something else. So if you hit enter, it will get it correct. Some people may have this typographical error where they will write RH instead. Watch what happens. If I hit enter, it will refuse it. It will not allow that as an entry because it doesn't know that. I hope you see how this is indeed validation, and it basically helps us to collect the right values instead of making mistakes. Okay, so we'll have this data set attached to the description of this video. I would like you to do those for employment status, for country, for states. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the date validation on the start date. Okay, all right. So let us highlight that date column. We go to data tab and then data tools. We click on data validation. Okay, so let's go to settings. We want to pick dates. Okay, we want to pick what? Dates. So pick dates like whole number and decimals. We have between, not equal to, basically all of them. So we want to pick between, right? Because we say it's a start date, and we know that the start date should be maybe between a particular date range. So we can go ahead and insert our date range. Okay. So let's say the date range is 1st of January 2026. Okay, then the end date is 6th of March 2026. Okay, now this, anything between this, that is from 1st of January to 6th of March. Okay, so you can go ahead and input your input message. So let's just say input dates following approved date range. Okay, then error message, let's put it as stop there, and now say input dates following approved date range. Okay, hope that is good. We go ahead and click OK. So we have the label there telling us what to do. And let's go ahead and say, even if we say January 1st, 2025, that will be wrong, right? If we correct that to 2026, that becomes what? Correct. You see, the input has been accepted. So basically, the same thing we saw when we discussed age for whole number, performance ratings for decimals. That is the same thing we are seeing for dates as well. Just that dates, they are dates, okay? So if you're finding this course interesting, do share it with more people. Kindly subscribe to complete this course, and let's build a community of love together. Now, let's look at something more powerful, right? Called the dependent dropdown. The dependent dropdown means that the option in one dropdown depends on what was selected in another dropdown. In other words, the second list changes automatically based on the first selection. So this is very useful when you're working with categories and subcategories, right? Okay, so let's look at our lookup list and see what we can do here. Okay, so we have employment status, we have country, we have Nigerian state, we have USA state. So basically we can use countries, right? So we can use Nigeria. When we select Nigeria, the list we'll have in the states will be dependent on basically the Nigerian states. And if you select US, it will basically be dependent on the US states. The first thing we have to do is to create a list somewhere, so which we have done. We have created these countries, we have Nigeria, USA, right? Then for the states, we have created the states as well, just as we've done here. The first thing we'll do is to highlight the Nigerian states as we've done here. Let's go to the name box here, right? And type Nigeria and press enter. So basically this range, when we highlight this range, you see immediately we highlight the range, you see it in the name box, it's Nigeria now, right? So let's repeat this process for the US states. So we can just name it USA, okay, USA, and hit enter. So what this means is Excel now recognizes two lists called Nigeria and USA. So the third step for us here is to create the first drop down, which we will do in country. Let's go here. We'll see country, right? So let's highlight the country column. We'll go to data tab. We'll go to data validation, right? So we want to create a country list, right? Okay. So let us, under settings now, let us select lists. Okay. And the source, let's go to the source. Let's go to our lookup list. And the source is this, right? We can now click what? Okay. So you can see now we have Nigeria, USA in our list, in our country list. Okay. So the next step will be to create the dependent dropdown. We will now create the what? The dependent dropdown on states. So this is what we do. We click on states. We'll now go to data validation. Okay. We'll choose lists. All right. So for the source, we will now say indirect, to say equals rather, indirect. Okay. Now we have our country F in the F column, rather, we have our country in the F column. So we'll say F2. Okay. So the country basically starts at F2. We'll close this and then click OK. Okay, so what will happen is that if we pick Nigeria now, what happens on this drop down is only Nigerian states. Can you see that? It's what? Only Nigerian states, okay? If we pick USA, okay, you see that what we have here will be just US what list. Can you see that? Okay, can see that, right? All right, so we have successfully done what? Inserted the list here in country. So let's make the dependent. So we want to make states dependent on country, right? So what we'll do now is to highlight the entire state column, right? So we will now go to data validation. Then we are going to select lists, okay, under allow. Then the source now, instead of inserting or entering the source, we will say equals indirect, open parentheses. Now, since state will be dependent on country, we'll pay attention to the country column, which is F. So the country's first cell starts in F2 right here. So we'll just say F2, we'll close our parentheses. Then we want to, it says source currently evaluates to an error. Do you want to continue? Yes, we can just continue, please. So we want to impute the message. We can say dependent on country. Okay, so on error alerts, let's just say yes. On error alert, we leave it at stop, and then the error message will say select from the drop down only. Okay, so let's go ahead and click OK. Just say yes, please. Okay, so if we pick Nigeria, what happens here is that we have only Nigerian states. Okay, if we pick US here, okay, what we have is entirely US states. Okay, I hope that is clear. So dependent dropdowns are extremely useful in real business templates. Example includes HR forms where you tie department to job roles or job roles to department. In sales forms where you pick or tie country to city, just as we've done here. In inventory systems, in survey forms, for instance, where if you say your industry or your profession is healthcare, you work in the healthcare industry, you get your professions listed out so that it avoids mixing up. You get it, right? Okay. So remember, if this is your first time trying this, remember to tell us in the comment section, try this out, and let us know how you feel about it. So we basically have exercises here for you to try out, and then let us hear from you in the comment section. So thank you so much. You have a wonderful day.